I stood in our bedroom at 3 in the morning on September 25th, 2024, watching my husband of 32 years sleep peacefully while I packed the last of my clothes into a suitcase. He had no idea I was leaving. No idea that yesterday, September 24th, had been my 56th birthday. Again. For the fourth year in a row, Mark had forgotten. But this time, I wasn't going to remind him. This time, I was going to forget to tell him I was leaving for good. Before you ask how it got to this point, before you wonder how a marriage could end at 3 in the morning without a single word, let me take you back. Not just to yesterday, but to the beginning. Because this story isn't really about one forgotten birthday. It's about 32 years of slowly disappearing until I became invisible in my own life. And it's about the moment I decided to become visible again, just not to him. My name is Catherine. I met Mark Harrison in the spring of 1992 at a hospital fundraiser in Portland, Oregon. I was 24 years old, working as a pediatric nurse, and he was 26, a junior architect at a firm downtown. He was charming. God, he was charming. He brought me punch, told me I had the most beautiful smile he'd ever seen, and asked if he could take me to dinner the following weekend. We were married 18 months later on October 10th, 1993. My birthday, as it turned out. I thought it was romantic at the time. He said he'd never forget our anniversary because it was also my birthday. He said it was the smartest thing he'd ever done. He was right about one thing. He never forgot our anniversary. He just forgot it was also my birthday. The first few years were good. We were young. We were building a life. Mark's career took off and mine continued steadily. We bought a small house in Northeast Portland in 1995, a fixer-upper on 37th Avenue that we poured everything into. I worked the night shift at the hospital so I could spend my days stripping wallpaper and refinishing floors. Mark worked 60-hour weeks at the firm. We were tired, but we were happy. Or at least, I thought we were happy. Our daughter Emma was born in January 1997. Mark cried when he held her for the first time. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the family I always wanted. I cut back to part-time at the hospital. Mark made partner at his firm when Emma was 2. The money got better. Life got busier. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, I started to fade into the background of our life together. The first birthday Mark forgot was in 2003. Emma was 6. I turned 31 that year. We had plans, or at least I thought we did. I'd mentioned it a week before, casually, that maybe we could have dinner out on my birthday. Mark had nodded, distracted, looking at blueprints spread across the dining room table. Sure, babe, sounds good. October 10th, 2003 came. I got up early, got Emma ready for school, went to the grocery store, came home, did laundry. Mark was in his home office all day working on a project. 5 o'clock came and went, 6 o'clock, 7. Finally, at 7:30, I knocked on his office door. Hey, I said, I thought we were going to dinner. He looked up from his computer, confused. Tonight? It's my birthday, I said. The look on his face, I'll never forget it. Not guilt, not even embarrassment, just mild surprise like I'd told him we were out of milk. Oh, Kat, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. I've got this presentation tomorrow and I'm nowhere near ready. Can we do it this weekend? I stood there in the doorway of his office, holding dish towels I'd been folding, and felt something shift inside me. Something small, but definite, like a hairline crack in a foundation. Sure, I said, this weekend. We never went to dinner that weekend. By Friday, Mark had forgotten again, and I didn't remind him. Emma made me a card at school with crayons and glitter. Mark gave me a distracted kiss on the cheek on Saturday morning and said, Happy birthday, babe. Sorry about Tuesday. And that was it. I told myself it didn't matter. He was under a lot of stress. The project was important. We'd been married 10 years at that point. Birthday dinners weren't as important as paying the mortgage, right? But here's the thing about small cracks in foundations. They don't stay small. The second forgotten birthday was in 2008. I was 36. Mark had forgotten to pick up Emma from soccer practice 3 times that month. I'd had to leave work early each time, apologizing to my supervisor, explaining that there was a mix-up with schedules. Emma was 11 and starting to notice that her father was never around. "Why doesn't Dad come to my games?" she asked me one night while I was tucking her in. "He's working, sweetheart. He's working really hard so we can have nice things." "I don't care about nice things," she said. "I want him to come to my games." I didn't have an answer for that. My birthday that year fell on a Friday. I'd taken the day off work. Mark had been traveling a lot for projects, and I thought maybe, just maybe, we could spend the day together. Maybe go to the coast. Maybe just stay in bed late and talk like we used to. He left for the office at 6:45 in the morning. I heard him in the shower, heard him moving around the bedroom, heard the front door close. I lay in bed, waiting for a kiss goodbye, waiting for a happy birthday, waiting for anything, nothing. I got up at 8, made myself coffee, sat at the kitchen table and cried for 20 minutes. Then I dried my eyes, called my friend Jennifer, and we went to lunch at a little bistro downtown. She brought me a present, a silk scarf in deep purple. She hugged me and said, "You deserve better than this." I laughed it off. "He's just distracted. Big project." "Kat," Jennifer said, looking at me seriously across the table. "There's always a big project." Mark came home at 8:30 that night. I was in the living room reading. He walked in, loosened his tie, kissed the top of my head. "Hey babe, did you have a good day?" "It was fine," I said. "Good," he said. "I'm exhausted. I think I'm going to grab a beer and watch the game." He walked into the kitchen. I heard the refrigerator open, heard the bottle cap pop, heard him settle into his recliner in the den. He never remembered. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the next week. On October 20th, 10 days later, I found a card on the kitchen counter when I came home from work, one of those generic "sorry I forgot" cards from the drugstore. Inside, in Mark's handwriting, "Sorry about your birthday. Work has been crazy. Love you. M." Not even "I love you," just "love you, M." I threw the card away. I didn't mention it. He never asked. The pattern was set after that. Not every year, but often enough. 2011, forgotten. 2014, forgotten. 2018, forgotten. And last year, 2023, forgotten. But let me back up, because you need to understand what was happening in between those forgotten birthdays. You need to understand how I went from being a vibrant 24-year-old nurse who thought she'd found her soulmate to a 55-year-old woman packing a suitcase at 3 in the morning. Emma graduated high school in 2015. Mark missed the ceremony. He was in San Francisco for a client meeting. "It's a huge project, Kat," he said. $7 million contract. I can't miss this meeting. Emma understands." Emma didn't understand. She cried in my arms in her cap and gown before the ceremony. "Why doesn't he love me?" she asked. "He loves you," I said, lying through my teeth. "He just doesn't know how to show it." She went to college in Seattle that fall, University of Washington, pre-med, my brilliant girl. Mark paid the tuition without blinking, $32,000 a year, but he didn't help her move in. "I've got a deadline, Kat, you understand?" I did understand. I understood that money was how Mark showed love because he didn't know how to do it any other way. I kept working through all of this. Night shifts at the hospital, 3 nights a week. It was easier, honestly. I didn't have to watch Mark ignore me in our own home. I didn't have to sit through dinners where he was physically present but mentally somewhere else, sketching designs on napkins or checking his phone every 5 minutes. The thing about being married to someone who's never really present is that you start to disappear too. You stop expecting things. You stop asking for things. You learn to make yourself smaller and smaller until you fit into the tiny spaces they leave for you between their work and their hobbies and their own needs. I stopped buying new clothes because Mark never noticed anyway. I stopped getting my hair cut at the nice salon and started going to the cheap place in the strip mall. I stopped wearing perfume. I stopped painting my nails. I became beige, invisible. The woman who kept the house running and paid the bills and made sure there was food in the refrigerator and clean towels in the bathroom. And Mark? Mark got more successful. His firm promoted him to senior partner in 2016. He was pulling in $350,000 a year by 2020. We upgraded to a bigger house in the West Hills with a view of downtown, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a home office for Mark with floor-to-ceiling windows. I kept working my night shifts, not because we needed the money, but because I needed to be somewhere where I mattered, where my skills meant something, where people saw me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about last year, 2023, the birthday that should have been the final straw, but wasn't. I turned 55 on October 10th, 2023. Emma was in her last year of medical school, doing a rotation in emergency medicine. She called me at 7 in the morning, singing "Happy Birthday," off-key the way she'd done since she was little. "I love you, Mom," she said. "I'm sending you something. Should arrive today." "You didn't have to do that, sweetheart." "Yes, I did. You're the best mother in the world. I hope Dad's doing something special for you." I laughed. "I'm sure he will." I wasn't sure of anything of the sort. Mark was already gone when I hung up with Emma. He'd left for work at 6:30. No card on the counter, no text message, no anything. I made myself coffee. I sat at the kitchen island in our beautiful house with the view of downtown Portland and felt completely, utterly alone. At 10 in the morning, the doorbell rang. A delivery from Emma. A beautiful bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite, and a box from my favorite bakery in Seattle. Cupcakes, 6 of them, chocolate with vanilla buttercream frosting. The card said, "Mom, I wish I could be there to celebrate with you. Thank you for everything you've ever done for me. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. I love you more than words can say." Emma. I cried reading that card. I cried because my 26-year-old daughter remembered. My 26-year-old daughter who was juggling 80-hour weeks at the hospital and studying for her boards and trying to figure out her future, still took the time to send me flowers and cupcakes and a card that made me feel seen. Mark came home at 7:45 that night. I'd made dinner. Salmon with roasted vegetables, his favorite. I'd opened a bottle of wine. I'd put on a nice dress, the navy blue one he used to say made my eyes look beautiful. He walked in, briefcase in one hand, phone in the other. "Hey," he said, not looking up. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was a nightmare on, the 05. "That's okay," I said. "Dinner's ready." We sat down at the dining room table. I'd lit candles. I'd used the good plates. Mark served himself salmon, took a bite, nodded. "This is good, babe." "Thank you," I said. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Mark's phone buzzed. He picked it up, read a message, typed a response. Put it down. Picked it up again 30 seconds later. "Busy day?" I asked. "You have no idea. The riverfront project is a disaster. The client keeps changing their mind about the facade. We've gone through 6 designs already. 6. It's driving me insane." "That sounds frustrating," I said. "Beyond frustrating. I've got a meeting with them tomorrow at 7 in the morning. I need to have new renderings ready by then." "Will you have time?" I asked. "I'll have to make time. I'll probably work until midnight tonight." I took a sip of wine. Took a breath. "Mark?" "Do you know what today is?" He looked up from his phone, confused. "Wednesday?" Something inside me broke then, quietly, cleanly, like a bone that snaps without sound. "It's October 10th, I said. "It's my birthday. It's also our 30th anniversary." The look on his face was the same look from 20 years earlier. Mild surprise, slight inconvenience. "Oh, Kat, Jesus, I'm so sorry. I've just been so slammed with this project. I completely forgot." "I know," I said. "You always forget." "That's not fair. I don't always forget. Last year you forgot. 2018 you forgot. 2014, 2011, 2008, 2003. He put his phone down. "You're keeping track?" "I don't have to keep track, Mark. I live it. Every year I wake up on my birthday and wonder if this will be the year you remember. If this will be the year I matter more than your work." "That's not fair," he said again. "You know how important my work is. You know how hard I work to provide for this family." "I do know. I know you work hard. I know you make a lot of money. I know we have this beautiful house and nice cars and Emma's education is paid for. But Mark, do you know what I want for my birthday? Do you know what I've wanted for the last 20 years? He didn't answer. "I want you to remember. That's it. I don't want expensive gifts or fancy dinners or jewelry. I just want you to wake up on October 10th and think, today is Catherine's birthday. Today is the day I married the woman I love. I want to feel like I matter to you. You do matter to me, Kat. You're my wife. Am I? Or am I just the person who keeps your house running while you work on your projects? Where is this coming from? He asked, defensive now. You've never complained before. I've complained plenty, Mark. You just never listen. I do listen. When's the last time we went on a date? I asked. A real date, just the two of us, dinner and conversation and no phones. He thought about it. I don't know, a few months ago. Try 2 years, ago. 2 years, Mark. We went to Jake's for our 28th anniversary, October 10th, 2021. You checked your phone 11 times during dinner, I counted. I'm sorry, he said. I'll do better, I promise. We'll go out this weekend. Anywhere you want. My treat. Your treat? I laughed, and it came out bitter. It's always your treat, Mark. Because you make all the money. Because your career is the important one. Because I'm just the nurse who works nights so I don't get in your way. I never said that. You don't have to say it. I feel it every single day. We sat there in silence. The candles burned down. The salmon got cold. Mark's phone buzzed again. He reached for it, stopped himself, put his hand back on the table. I really am sorry, Kat. I know I'm not the best husband. I know I get wrapped up in work, but I do love you. You have to know that. Do I? I asked. Because I don't feel loved, Mark. I feel tolerated. I feel like furniture, like something that's always there but never really seen. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you kissed me and meant it? When's the last time you asked me about my day? When's the last time you noticed that I cut my hair or bought a new dress or that I've lost 15 pounds because I'm so stressed I can't eat? He looked at me then. Really looked at me. For the first time in months. Maybe years. You lost weight? I stood up from the table. I'm going to bed. Kat, wait, let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, Mark. You forgot my birthday. Again. You forgot our anniversary. Again. And next year, you'll forget again. Because that's what you do. You forget. I went upstairs, took off the navy blue dress, put on my pajamas, got into bed. Mark came up an hour later. He didn't apologize again. He didn't bring me flowers or a card or a hastily scribbled note. He just got into bed next to me, turned off the light, and went to sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to him breathe, and thought, I can't do this anymore. But I didn't leave. Not then. Because leaving after 30 years of marriage isn't something you do in a moment of anger. It's something you do after you've exhausted every other option, after you've tried and failed and tried again and finally accepted that nothing is going to change. So I gave him another chance. I gave him 11 more months of chances. Let me tell you what happened during those 11 months. Let me tell you about the slow accumulation of evidence that proved what I already knew in my heart. I was married to a man who loved his work more than he loved me. In November of 2023, Mark went to a conference in Denver. 3 days. He didn't call once. Not once. I texted him the first night. Hope you got there safely. Love you. He responded 4 hours later. Yep, busy day. Talk later. We never talked later. In December, Emma came home for Christmas. Mark worked through Christmas Eve and most of Christmas Day. He joined us for dinner at 5 o'clock, stayed for an hour, then went back to his office to finish a proposal that was due the day after Christmas. Emma and I watched It's a Wonderful Life without him, like we'd done for the last 15 years. Mom, Emma said to me that night after Mark had gone to bed, why do you stay with him? What do you mean? I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. He's never here. He doesn't pay attention to you. He doesn't even try. It's complicated, sweetheart. Marriage is complicated. Marriage shouldn't make you look this sad, she said. You deserve to be happy. I am happy, I lied. No, you're not, and you haven't been for a long time. I didn't have an answer for that. In February of 2024, our water heater broke. I called a plumber. He came out, assessed the damage, gave me a quote, $3,200 for a new heater and installation. I called Mark at work to tell him, Just handle it, he said. You know where the checkbook is. Don't you want to know what's wrong? Don't you want to get a second opinion? Kat, I'm in a meeting. If the water heater's broken, it's broken. Fix it. I trust your judgment. He hung up. I paid the plumber $3,200. Mark never asked about it, never even noticed we had a new water heater. In April, my mother had a fall. She lived in Eugene, about 2 hours south. I called Mark in a panic. Mom's in the hospital. She might have broken her hip. I need to go down there. Okay, he said. Do you need anything? Do I need anything? Mark, my mother's in the hospital. Can you come with me? I can't, babe. I've got the waterfront presentation on Friday. It's huge. I can't miss it. My mother might have a broken hip. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. But she's got doctors taking care of her. There's nothing I can do there. You go. Keep me updated. I drove to Eugene alone. My mother had fractured her femur, not her hip, but she needed surgery. I stayed with her for 5 days. Mark texted me twice. How's your mom? And when are you coming back? I came back the following Monday. Mark was in his office when I got home. He didn't come out to greet me, didn't ask how my mother was doing. I walked into his office an hour after I got home. Hey, he said, glancing up from his computer. You're back. How's Martha? She's okay. Surgery went well. She'll need physical therapy for a few months. That's good. Glad it wasn't more serious. He turned back to his computer. I stood there for a moment, waiting for something. A hug. I missed you. That must have been scary for you. Nothing. I'm going to make dinner, I said. Sounds good, he said, not looking up. That night, lying in bed, I thought about Emma's question. Why do you stay with him? I didn't have an answer anymore. In June, I found the credit card statement. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. I was looking for our homeowner's insurance bill to make a payment, and I opened what I thought was the insurance file on Mark's desk. Instead, I found credit card statements, his Amex, the one he used for business expenses. I started to put it back. None of my business, right? His business expenses were his business. But something made me look. Some instinct. Some voice in the back of my head that said, look. So I looked. June's statement. $11,467 in charges. I scanned the list. Dinner at Le Pigeon, one of Portland's nicest restaurants. $532, hadn't taken me there in 5 years. Hotel Monaco, 3 nights, $1,800. I didn't remember him mentioning a trip. Tiffany & Co., $4,900. My heart stopped. I hadn't gotten anything from Tiffany's. Not for Christmas, not for our anniversary, not ever. I sat down at Mark's desk. My hands were shaking. I put the June statement aside and looked at May. $9,215, dinner at Kennard. $389, Napa Valley Wine Tours. $1,600, Nordstrom. $2,350, April, $7,900, Portland City Grill, $412, Day Spa Package, $750, Agent Provocateur, $673. I didn't know what Agent Provocateur was. I looked it up on my phone, lingerie. I sat there in Mark's office at 3 p.m. on June 18, 2024. Holding credit card statements that told a story I'd been too blind to see. My husband was having an affair. My husband, who forgot my birthday and our anniversary and our daughter's graduation, was spending thousands of dollars a month on someone else, taking them to nice restaurants, buying them jewelry and clothes and lingerie, taking them on trips to Napa Valley. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me and I was falling. I put the statements back in the folder, put the folder back in the file cabinet, went downstairs, made myself a cup of tea with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, sat at the kitchen table and stared at the wall. What was I supposed to do? Confront him, show him the statements, scream and cry and demand to know who she was, or was I supposed to pretend I hadn't seen them? Go on like everything was normal? Keep playing the role of the invisible wife while my husband spent his money and his time and his attention on someone else? I didn't do either of those things. Not right away. Instead, I went to work that night like always. I put on my scrubs and drove to the hospital and took care of my patients. A 10-year-old with appendicitis, a 7-year-old who'd fallen off his bike and needed stitches, a 15-year-old with a severe asthma attack. I did my job. I smiled and reassured parents and held the hand of a scared little girl while the doctor examined her. And I didn't think about the credit card statements. I didn't think about Tiffany's or agent provocateur or hotel rooms I'd never slept in. I didn't think about any of it until I got in my car at 6 in the morning on June 19th and the dam broke. I sat in the hospital parking lot and sobbed until I couldn't breathe, sobbed until my chest hurt, sobbed until I had nothing left. Then I dried my eyes, reapplied my mascara, drove home. Mark was in the shower when I got there. I could hear the water running upstairs. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, sat at the table. When he came down 20 minutes later, dressed for work, I was reading the newspaper like nothing had happened. "Morning," he said, pouring himself coffee. "Morning," I said. "How was work?" "Fine, busy night." "That's good. Listen, I've got to leave early today. Meeting at 7. I'll probably be late again tonight." "Okay." He kissed the top of my head, that same distracted kiss he always gave me, and left. I sat there with the newspaper unread in front of me and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Because if I confronted him, he would lie. He would make excuses. He would tell me I was imagining things or that I was overreacting or that those charges were for clients or colleagues or perfectly innocent gifts. And maybe part of me would want to believe him, because believing him was easier than accepting that my marriage was over, that the last 32 years had been a slow march toward this moment. So instead, I was going to be smart about this. I was going to gather evidence. I was going to protect myself. And when I finally confronted him, I was going to make sure I had everything I needed to walk away clean. The next day, June 20th, I made an appointment with a lawyer, a divorce attorney Jennifer had recommended years ago when her sister was going through a messy separation. His name was Robert Chen, and his office was downtown on 6th Avenue. I told Mark I had a doctor's appointment. He didn't ask what for. Robert Chen was in his early 50s, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. His office was neat, professional, lined with law books and certificates. He shook my hand, offered me coffee, and sat down across from me with a legal pad. "So, Catherine," he said, "tell me why you're here." I told him everything, the forgotten birthdays, the emotional neglect, the credit card statements, the affair I was certain was happening but couldn't prove yet. He listened without interrupting, took notes. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "First, I want to say I'm sorry. This is never an easy situation, but you've taken the right first step by coming here." "What do I need to do?" I asked. "Document everything, dates, times, expenses. If you can safely access those credit card statements again, photograph them. Keep a record of his whereabouts when he says he's working late or traveling. If you suspect he's with someone else, we may want to consider hiring a private investigator." "A private investigator," I repeated. It sounded so dramatic, like something from a movie. I know it sounds extreme, but in Oregon, adultery doesn't affect the division of assets in a divorce. However, if you can prove he's been using marital funds to support an affair, that changes things. Those expenditures can be considered dissipation of marital assets, and you may be entitled to reimbursement. "How much are we talking about?" I asked. "Based on what you've told me, he's spending somewhere around $9,000 to $10,000 a month on this affair. If it's been going on for, say, 6 months, that's $60,000. A year, $120,000. That money should have stayed in the marriage. You're entitled to half of it back." I felt sick. How do I prove it? Documentation, credit card statements, receipts, hotel records, phone records if you can get them. The more evidence you have, the stronger your case. And Catherine, I want you to start thinking about what you want from this divorce. "I want out," I said. "That's all. I just want out." "I understand, but you've been married for 32 years. You're entitled to spousal support. You're entitled to half of all marital assets, the house, retirement accounts, savings, investments. You've worked throughout your marriage, which is good, but you've also sacrificed career advancement to support his career. That matters in court." "I don't want to fight," I said. "I just want it to be over." "I understand that impulse, but don't shortchange yourself. You've earned a comfortable future. Make sure you get it." I left Robert Chen's office with a checklist: document expenses, photograph credit card statements, keep a log of Mark's activities, consider hiring a private investigator, begin separating finances, open my own bank account, get a credit card in my own name, start putting aside money from each paycheck. I felt like a spy. I felt duplicitous and calculating. I felt guilty, but I also felt something else. For the first time in years, I felt like I had some control over my life. Over the next 3 months, late June through September of 2024, I became someone I didn't recognize, someone methodical, someone strategic, someone who could smile at her husband over dinner while secretly documenting every dollar he spent on his mistress. I went back to Mark's office every few days when he was at work. I photographed credit card statements with my phone. I kept a spreadsheet on my laptop, password protected, tracking every suspicious charge. By the end of July, I had $73,000 in documented expenses that had nothing to do with our household or Mark's legitimate business. More dinners at expensive restaurants, more hotels, more jewelry, more lingerie, wine of the month club membership, $600, flowers delivered weekly, $150 each time. A weekend at Salishan Resort on the coast, $2,400. Every new charge felt like another knife to the heart. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. I just documented it all and waited. In August, I hired the private investigator Robert Chen recommended. Her name was Maria Santos, late 40s, former police detective, now running her own investigative firm. She cost $150 an hour, and she was worth every penny. "I need to know who she is," I told Maria at our first meeting in her office in Beaverton. "I need to know where they go. I need proof." "You'll have it," Maria said. "Give me 2 weeks." She was right. 1 week later, Maria called me. "I've got her." My heart stopped. "Who is she?" "Her name is Alexis Monroe, 29 years old, interior designer, works at the same firm as your husband." 29. She was 29 years old, 3 years older than our daughter. I thought I might be sick. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "Based on what I've found, at least a year, maybe longer. They're not particularly careful. Lunch together 3-4 times a week. They've been to dinner at 9 different restaurants in the last 2 weeks. Last Tuesday, they checked into the Heathman Hotel at 3 in the afternoon. She left at 9:30. He came home to you around 10. August 13th, 2024. A Tuesday. Mark had told me he was meeting with a client for dinner. He'd come home at 10:15, kissed my cheek, said the meeting had run late. I'd been reading in bed. I'd said, "That's okay. How did it go?" And he'd said, "Fine. I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a shower and go to bed." He'd showered, washed off the smell of her, washed off the evidence of his betrayal, then climbed into bed next to me like nothing had happened. "Catherine?" Maria's voice brought me back. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," I said. "What else do you have?" "Photos, time-stamped, dates and locations. I've followed them for 7 days. I have documentation of 11 meetings, 6 lunches, 3 dinners, 2 hotel visits. Do you want me to continue surveillance?" "Yes," I said. "Keep going. I want everything." By mid-September, Maria had given me a file 2 inches thick. Photos of Mark and Alexis holding hands as they walked into restaurants. Photos of them kissing in the parking garage at his office. Photos of them checking into hotels. A detailed log of every place they'd been, every meal they'd shared, every moment they'd stolen from the marriage he was supposed to be honoring. I looked at those photos for hours, studied every detail. Mark's hand on the small of her back, the way he smiled at her, the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the world. He'd never looked at me like that. Not in years. Maybe not ever. Alexis Monroe was beautiful. Tall, blonde, probably a size 4. She wore designer clothes and high heels and carried a handbag that probably cost more than my monthly nursing salary. She was everything I wasn't. Young, glamorous, the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room. And she was sleeping with my husband. I should have felt rage. I should have felt devastation. But mostly I felt tired of being second choice, tired of being invisible, tired of loving someone who couldn't be bothered to love me back. On September 20th, I met with Robert Chen again. I brought the file Maria had compiled. I brought my own documentation of the credit card charges. I brought copies of our bank statements, investment accounts, retirement funds. "This is excellent work, Catherine," Robert said, reviewing everything. "With this documentation, we have a very strong case. He's dissipated roughly $97,000 in marital assets over the past year and a half. You're entitled to reimbursement for half of that, $48,500, plus your portion of the actual division of assets." "What are we looking at total?" I asked. "The house is worth approximately $1.2 million. You have about $400,000 in retirement accounts, $250,000 in savings and investments. Total marital assets are around $1.85 million. You're entitled to half, $925,000, plus the $48,500 in reimbursement for dissipated assets. Total, $973,500. I sat back in my chair. "That much? That's what you've earned over 32 years of marriage, Catherine. That's your share of the life you built together. And frankly, I think we should ask for more in spousal support given that you compromised your career to support his." "I want to be fair," I said. "Fair is not letting him walk away from this marriage with his wealth intact while you struggle. Fair is making sure you're taken care of after you gave him 3 decades of your life." I thought about those 3 decades, the forgotten birthdays, the missed milestones, the nights I'd spent alone while he worked late, the years I'd made myself smaller and smaller to accommodate his ambition. "Okay," I said. "What do I need to do?" "First, you need to decide when you're going to file. I'd recommend doing it soon before he has any indication you're planning to leave. The element of surprise works in your favor." "How soon?" "Whenever you're ready, a week, a month, tomorrow, it's up to you." I thought about it. I need a little time to get my affairs in order, to tell Emma, to find a place to live. "That's fine. Take the time you need. But Catherine, once you tell him you're filing, things may get difficult. He may become angry. He may try to hide assets. He may make this process as hard as possible. Are you prepared for that?" "I am," I said, and I meant it. I left Robert Chen's office that day with a plan. I would file for divorce on October 1st, 2024. That gave me 10 days to prepare, to transfer money into my own account, to pack the things that mattered most, to steel myself for the battle ahead. But then, fate intervened. Because fate has a sense of irony. On September 23rd, Emma called me from Seattle. "Mom, I have incredible news. I matched for my residency. Oregon Health and Science University, emergency medicine. I'll be moving back to Portland in July." "Oh, sweetheart, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "I know, right? I can't believe it. OHSU was my first choice." "Mom, we'll be in the same city again. We can have dinner every week. You can help me find an apartment. It's going to be amazing." We talked for an hour about her plans, about her excitement, about how she couldn't wait to be home again. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand and cried. Emma was coming home, my girl was coming back, and she was going to come back to a broken family, a divorced mother, a father who destroyed everything we'd built. But maybe, I thought, that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe Emma deserved to see what strength looked like, what it meant to choose yourself, what it meant to refuse to be invisible anymore. So I pushed my timeline up. I would file for divorce on September 25th, the day after my birthday, my 56th birthday, the day Mark would inevitably forget. I didn't tell him I had a plan. I didn't tell him I'd hired a lawyer and a private investigator. I didn't tell him I knew about Alexis Monroe and the $97,000 in the hotel rooms and the lies. I just went about my life like normal. Made dinner, went to work, smiled when he came home, pretended everything was fine. On September 23rd, I withdrew $15,000 from our joint savings account and deposited it into my new account at a different bank. My lawyer had said I was entitled to take half of our liquid assets without legal repercussion. $15,000 was barely a fraction of what was owed to me. On September 24th, my birthday, I woke up at 6 in the morning. Mark was still asleep. I got up quietly, went downstairs, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table and watched the sun rise over downtown Portland. I thought about all the birthdays Mark had forgotten, all the years I'd swallowed my disappointment and told myself it didn't matter, all the times I'd made excuses for him because it was easier than facing the truth. The truth was simple. Mark didn't forget my birthday because he was busy or stressed or overwhelmed. He forgot because I didn't matter enough to remember. At 7 in the morning, Mark came downstairs, poured himself coffee, scrolled through his phone. "Morning," he said, not looking up. "Morning," I said. "Big day today. Final presentation for the Pearl District project. 6 months of work coming down to this one meeting. Wish me luck?" "Good luck," I said. He kissed the top of my head. "Thanks, babe. I'll probably be late tonight. Don't wait up." He left at 7:15. I sat there for another 20 minutes. Then I got up, went upstairs, and started packing. I didn't pack everything, just the things that mattered. Clothes, photos of Emma, the jewelry my mother had given me, important documents, my birth certificate, passport, Emma's baby book. Books I'd collected over the years that Mark had never read, the quilt my grandmother made me when I was 16. I packed methodically, carefully, room by room. I took things Mark would never notice were gone because he'd never noticed them in the first place. By noon, I had 3 suitcases and 4 boxes packed and loaded into my car. I'd rented a small furnished apartment in southeast Portland, month-to-month lease, $800 a month. It was tiny, a studio really, but it had big windows and hardwood floors, and it was mine. I made 3 trips to the apartment that afternoon, unpacked my things, made the bed with sheets I'd bought specifically for this new chapter, hung my clothes in the closet, set up my coffee maker on the kitchen counter. At 4 o'clock, I went back to the house one last time. I stood in the living room of the home we'd shared for 15 years, the home Mark had chosen because it had the right views and the right prestige and the right zip code. The home I'd never particularly liked but had made the best of, because that's what I did. I didn't feel sad. I felt light. I went upstairs to Mark's office. I left the divorce papers on his desk, typed on official letterwork from Robert Chen's firm, a petition for dissolution of marriage, an inventory of assets, a proposed division of property, a request for spousal support. On top of the papers, I left a note, handwritten on a card I'd bought specifically for this purpose. "Mark, today is September 24th, 2024, our 31st anniversary, my 56th birthday. I'm sure you forgot. Again, I'm filing for divorce. I've hired an attorney. I've documented your affair with Alexis Monroe and the $97,000 in marital funds you've spent on her over the past year and a half. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being forgotten. I'm done waiting for you to love me the way I deserved to be loved. You'll be served with papers in the next few days. Have your attorney contact mine. Don't try to find me. Don't call. Don't text. We'll communicate through our lawyers from now on. Catherine." I left the note on top of the divorce papers, took one last look around his office, and walked out. I drove back to my new apartment, made myself dinner, pasta with fresh vegetables and pesto, something simple and comforting, opened a bottle of wine, sat by the window watching the sunset. At 8:30, my phone started ringing. Mark. I didn't answer. He called again, and again, and again. 12 times in the next hour. I turned my phone off. He showed up at the apartment at 10. I don't know how he found the address. Maybe he'd looked through my things, found the lease agreement. He pounded on the door. Catherine, open the door! We need to talk about this!" I didn't answer. I sat on the couch with a cup of tea and listened to him pound and yell and plead. "Catherine, this is insane. You can't just leave. You can't just walk out after 31 years. Open the door." I took a sip of my tea, said nothing. "Fine. You want to be like this? Fine. But you're making a huge mistake. You're going to regret this." He pounded one more time. Then I heard his footsteps retreating down the stairs, heard his car start, heard him drive away. I finished my tea, washed the cup, got ready for bed, set my alarm for the next morning because I had a shift at the hospital, and I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, September 25th, I woke up at 5. made coffee in my new kitchen, got dressed for work, drove to the hospital in the pre-dawn darkness. Jennifer met me in the break room before our shift started. "Oh my God, Kat, Mark called me last night. He was hysterical. He said you left him. He said you filed for divorce. Is it true?" "It's true," I said. "Holy shit, are you okay?" "I'm great," I said, and I meant it. "What happened? I mean, I know things weren't great, but what made you finally do it?" "He forgot my birthday," I said. "Again?" "Again. And Jennifer, I realized I'd spent 32 years waiting for him to remember, waiting for him to see me, waiting for him to care, and I finally understood that he was never going to. So I stopped waiting." She hugged me. "I'm so proud of you." "Thank you," I said. "Now let's go to work." The next few weeks were chaotic. Mark tried calling me constantly, 57 times in the first 3 days. I blocked his number. He tried emailing. I set up a filter to send his emails directly to a folder I didn't read. He tried showing up at the hospital. Security escorted him out after I filed a complaint with my supervisor. He hired an attorney, a shark named Gregory Walsh, who sent aggressive letters demanding I return home immediately and cease this frivolous legal action. Robert Chen responded calmly and professionally, reiterating my right to file for divorce and enclosing copies of the credit card statements, the private investigator's report, and documentation of the dissipated assets. Mark tried a different tactic. He sent Emma to talk to me. She called me on October 3rd. "Mom, what's going on? Dad called me crying. He said you left him. He said you won't talk to him. He said there's been a huge misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding, sweetheart. Your father had an affair. He's been lying to me for over a year. I filed for divorce." Silence. Then, "Dad had an affair?" "With a woman named Alexis Monroe. She works at his near firm. She's 29 years old." "Oh my God." "I have photos, Emma, receipts, hotel records. It's all documented." "I can't believe this." "Actually, no, I can believe it. Of course he did. Of course he couldn't just be a decent husband. Of course he had to." She was crying. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to go through this alone." "I'm not alone, baby. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you for leaving. You should have done it years ago." "Maybe. But I did it when I was ready. And I'm ready now." "Do you need anything? Money? A place to stay? I can come down there. I can..." "No, sweetheart. I'm fine. I have a place. I have a good lawyer. I have savings. I'm going to be just fine." "I love you, Mom. I love you too." After I hung up with Emma, Mark tried texting me from her phone. "Catherine, please, we need to talk. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Please give me a chance to explain, please." I blocked Emma's number temporarily and sent her an email explaining why. The divorce proceeded exactly as Robert Chen predicted. Mark's lawyer tried to claim the credit card charges were business expenses. Robert produced the private investigator's report. Mark's lawyer tried to argue that I'd abandoned the marital home and therefore forfeited my right to equity. Robert pointed out that I'd left because of Mark's adultery and that Oregon was a no-fault state anyway. On October 10th, 2024, what would have been our 31st anniversary, my 56th birthday, I received a settlement offer from Mark's attorney. He was offering me $400,000 total. Less than half what I was entitled to. Less than half what I'd earned over 32 years of marriage. The offer included a clause requiring me to sign a non-disclosure agreement about the affair. He didn't want Alexis Monroe's name made public. He didn't want the scandal. Robert called me as soon as he received the offer. "This is insulting, Catherine. He's trying to lowball you and buy your silence. We're going to reject it and counter." "What do you think is fair?" I asked. "I think we should ask for the full $973,500 plus $100,000 in additional spousal support to compensate for the career opportunities you sacrificed. Total, $1.07 million. That seems like a lot. That's what you deserve. That's what you earned. Don't let him make you feel guilty for asking for what's rightfully yours." We countered with Robert's proposed settlement. Mark rejected it. We went back and forth for 2 weeks. Finally, on October 29th, we reached an agreement. Final settlement, $950,000, payable in full within 90 days. Plus, Mark would cover all of my legal fees, $37,000 to date, and all costs associated with Maria Santos's investigation, $6,200. Total, $993,200. I was free, and I was financially secure for the rest of my life. The divorce was finalized on December 15, 2024. I didn't attend the hearing. Robert represented me. It took 11 minutes for the judge to grant the dissolution of marriage and approve our settlement agreement. Mark had to sell the house to pay me. He put it on the market in January 2025. It sold in 3 weeks for $1.1 million. After paying off the mortgage and real estate fees, he netted $800,000. He paid me my settlement, which left him with essentially nothing from the sale. He had to rent an apartment in the Pearl District, $6,000 a month. A far cry from the luxury house in the West Hills. I heard through Jennifer, who heard through the Portland architecture community, that Alexis Monroe broke up with him in February. Apparently, Mark without money and prestige wasn't quite as attractive. Apparently, she'd moved on to another senior partner at the firm, someone who could afford Tiffany's and fancy dinners and weekend getaways. I didn't feel sorry for him, not even a little bit. I used my settlement money wisely. I bought a small house in Selwood, a neighborhood in southeast Portland, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a garden in the back, 800 square feet of my own space. I paid cash, $290,000, no mortgage, no ties to anyone else. I put $500,000 in investments, a diversified portfolio Robert Chen's financial advisor helped me set up, low risk, steady growth, designed to supplement my nursing income and provide for retirement. I used $50,000 to renovate my new house, exactly how I wanted it. New kitchen, new bathroom, hardwood floors refinished, walls painted in colors I chose without consulting anyone. I used $20,000 to take Emma on a trip to Italy, 2 weeks in Tuscany in March of 2025. Just the two of us. We drank wine and ate pasta and toured vineyards and museums and laughed until we cried. It was the best 2 weeks of my life. The remaining money I kept in savings, emergency fund, freedom fund. Someday, money. Emma moved back to Portland in July, just like she'd planned. I helped her find an apartment in Northwest Portland close to OHSU. We have dinner together every Tuesday, real dinners where we talk and laugh and connect. She's dating a pediatric resident named David. He's kind and funny, and he looks at her the way she deserves to be looked at. She told me last month that she's never seen me happier. "You're like a different person, Mom. You smile all the time, you laugh, you seem so light." "I am light," I told her. "I'm not carrying the weight of someone else's indifference anymore." As for me, I'm 56 years old. I work 3 shifts a week at the hospital. I have a small house I love. I have a daughter who's my best friend. I have savings and investments and a future that's entirely my own. I'm taking a watercolor painting class on Thursday evenings. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. I'm reading books I've always wanted to read but never had time for. I'm going to yoga. I'm getting my hair cut at the nice salon again. I'm wearing colors I like instead of beige. I'm dating. Nothing serious, but I've gone out with 3 different men in the last 2 months. It's strange and new and a little terrifying, but also exciting. One of them, a teacher named Eric, seems promising. He brought me flowers on our second date, daisies. He asked what my favorite flower was before he bought them. He remembered. I'm not looking for another marriage. I'm not looking for someone to complete me or save me or make me whole. I'm already whole. For the first time in 3 decades, I'm complete exactly as I am. But it's nice, I'll admit, to be seen, to be remembered, to matter to someone. Last week, on September 24th, 2025, I woke up on my 57th birthday in my own house in my own bed and smiled. I made myself coffee. I sat in my garden in the morning sun, and I thought about how far I'd come. Emma called at 7 to sing Happy Birthday, off key. Eric sent me a text. Happy birthday, Catherine. Dinner tonight? Your choice of restaurant, my treat. Jennifer brought cupcakes to work, chocolate with vanilla buttercream, my favorite. And at 8:30 in the morning, a delivery arrived. Sunflowers, 2 dozen of them, from myself to myself. with a card that said, "Happy birthday, you matter, love, Catherine." I stood in my kitchen holding those sunflowers and cried, but this time they were happy tears, grateful tears. Tears for the woman I used to be who suffered through forgotten birthdays in silence. Tears for the woman I'd become who bought herself flowers and knew her own worth. Mark tried to reach out to me a few months ago. He sent a letter, an actual handwritten letter, to my new address. I don't know how he got it. The letter was 5 pages long. He apologized for everything, for forgetting my birthdays, for the affair, for taking me for granted. He said he realized too late what he'd lost. He said he wanted another chance. He said he'd changed. I read the letter once, then I folded it neatly, put it back in the envelope, and threw it away. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Some betrayals are too deep. Some relationships are too damaged to salvage. And some women, once they finally see their own value, refuse to ever be invisible again. So that's my story. The story of how I spent 32 years married to a man who forgot my birthday over and over again. The story of how I finally forgot to tell him I was leaving for good. The story of how I found myself on the other side of heartbreak and discovered I was stronger than I ever knew. If you're in a relationship where you feel invisible, where you feel forgotten, where you feel like you're slowly disappearing, I want you to hear this. You don't have to stay. You're not being dramatic. You're not asking for too much. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be remembered. You deserve to matter. It might take time to leave. It might take planning and courage and resources, but you can do it. I did it at 56 years old after 3 decades of marriage. You can do it too. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment telling me where you're from and whether you've ever felt invisible in a relationship. And if you'd like to support me in sharing these stories, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support means the world to me. Remember, you matter. Your birthday matters. Your feelings matter. Don't forget that. And don't let anyone else forget it either. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You deserve it.